Hello, Thomas.
Hey, peoples.
Welcome to Foreign Friday. Today, I'm not sure, but I'm almost positive, we're at Newbury and not Newmarket.
Well, ironically, Newmarket is running. So,
yes, all week long I was screwing that up. I was unsure of where Thomas and I would take where we would foray off to on Foreign Friday.
Absolutely. And we're here for a reason, because there's a Group 1 mile race that you probably already took a look at, and you went, oh, because there's a couple of good horses in there.
Yeah, it was a pretty fun card. I mean, the one race kind of confused me a little bit, because in your email it said there were 16 runners and there was only 4. So I didn't.
Right. Well, that was the
factor of 4.
The declaration slightly changed from the entries.
I would guess, yes, a little bit. They chopped that field down mighty quick. Just a little bit of house cleaning before we get started. The track is listed as expected to be listed as good and a solid good tomorrow. So hopefully that proves to be true, or on Saturday morning. So when you're getting up with your tea and crumpets to a little bit of Newbury racing, you can expect a pretty solid track there.
Yeah, one of the things that they give us that in the States we do not get is you can look up and see how much they're watering the track. And gives you, because it gives you some idea of what they're seeing in terms of conditioning and wanting to give, because people trainers will scratch if the surface is, and and they're used to, let's face it, they're used to soft or whatever. With the weather the way it is right now, they're getting good to firm. They're getting like stuff we get, a lot of times here, and we, as soon as we see a raindrop, they pull the turf races. Well, can't do that there.
Nope. So one quick thing, last night we had on Sean Patrick Nolan. We talked a little bit about, and you can head over to our YouTube channel. You can see our live stream here. You can head on over there, check out the show for Sean Patrick Nolan. When we talked about a lot of really good races too at Belmont this Saturday. And then if you want to see what the jockey from the winning Kentucky Derby jockey, Sonny Leon, has to say, well, Sean and I talked to him on Horse Center last night too, about an hour before we got cracking with the Players Edge podcast. So make sure, if you haven't done so already, that you subscribe on YouTube. You hit the social buttons down there, Horse Race, the number 2 day, at Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Not thumbs down. It's just they're down there. Yes, thumbs up. We want thumbs up on all of the above. It helps us with their algorithms.
All right, we'll go this way then.
Sideways, indeed. Let's take a look at the Newbury Market. Newbury Market. Now I'm putting them together. The Newbury course. This is what it looks like. A little bit like a. What does it look like to me? It looks kind of like a 4, a sideways 4, using some kind of funky Microsoft font.
Yeah, I went with a kidney bean, but
kidney bean, yeah, I could go with a kidney bean. Kind of gives me that funky 4 look, though. Like I said, for the if you turn it this way, like up, it would look like a 4, but backwards 4, inverted 4.
Well, and keep in mind the mile race is a straightaway.
Starts back here and ends right there. So first up on it is a 6 furlong race. So 6 furlong is going to start right here, it looks like to me. And then they're going to just sprint, slight undulations throughout. They put that in there. And it ends at this sort of looking stop sign, but apparently they go at circles over there instead of octagons. So let's get cracking on the first race at Newbury, the Carnarvon Stakes, or Carnarvon Stakes. Yeah, whatever. Go ahead.
It's a listed event for 3-year-olds. So what we're looking at is potential runners at Royal Ascot. And certainly this is one of those kind of prep races. And it definitely is an interesting bunch, because I scratched my head for a little while and landed on number 3, Hierarchy, is my top choice. 6 starts, has 2 wins, 2 seconds, and a third. Ran in a Group 3 last out, 4-horse field at Ascot. Held his own. He finished second, and the winner was Go Bears Go, who is targeted for the Commonwealth at Royal Ascot. So they're going to give this one another race before thinking what they're going to do. He's won 2 novice races. He prepped for the Breeders' Cup at Newbury and finished third. He did finish sixth in the Breeders' Cup race. And his sire is a good sprinter. Was a very good sprinter. And the dam won at the handicap level. So it certainly looks like he's capable in this group, and he's been proven with 2 wins that he can handle it. Now the question is he going to be good enough?
And I think if you look at the pace,
with a race and coming off against Go Bears Go, I think he's got a great chance.
So yeah, if you also look at the pace, I think he might be one that's closer to the front compared to a lot of the others.
Yeah, I think I would be very surprised if he isn't forwardly placed. And I don't think the undulations in this course, because he's been over it before, will bother him, because he did okay last run on Newbury.
Okay.
I went with number 9, the favorite, which is Tiber Flow, is my second choice. Has 4 starts, 3 wins, and a second. All the races have been on the all-weather so far, but he's bred to be a sprinter. He's out of a champion sprinter. The Dam was a Group 3 winner in sprinting. So, yeah, there's some pretty good breeding-wise saying that this one could be very good. My concern, of course, is always going from all-weather to turf and a flat track. But they do train up and down, so that's not like it's a big surprise. And certainly it's got if it can prove itself here, it'll definitely be something to consider going forward. Number 6, Rizji is my final choice. 2 starts, a win, and a second. Going to step up here from the novice level to listed. So it'll be interesting. Last race was really interesting because it couldn't keep a straight line. And it's the best way to describe it. It edged left and then kept going left. So definitely some greenness here. I'm thinking it's going to improve. I think the Roger Varian and Holly Doyle combination, they've done pretty well so far with this horse, and getting it slipped into this position will be very interesting to see how it does going forward. If he keeps them straight, I think he's got a great chance of placing, and he may even slip in there for a win.
Funnily, we started with the same 2 horses. I look hierarchy to me, it just looked like that horse is the one that had it's going to be forwardly placed. I know that Breeders' Cup race wasn't a very good one right there, but it did rally hard at the end, and only finished off by 1 1/4 lengths to a horse we're going to talk about a little bit later on too, I'm pretty sure, in Twilight Gleaming. And then, so I expect the horse to also improve off its second start off a layoff, as you mentioned last time out, lost to Go Bears Go. My second horse is the same one as yours, the number 9 horse, Tiber Flow. Again, same questions you have. If the form from all-weather transfers over to the turf course, that's probably going to be your winner. If it doesn't transfer over, then you don't know what you're going to get out of that horse. I went a little bit different on the back end, though. I went with number 5. That is Bihi. And the reason I went with the 5 horses, you got in this 8-horse field, you got a couple of horses that like to be towards the front and a whole bunch of other horses that have a history of pressing. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of pace in this race, even with the undulations. And the one closer in the field is the 5 horse. So if you get a lot of fast up front runners there today or tomorrow or Saturday at Newbury, of all places,
Tomorrow,
one of these days, then it should be one that has a pace that it can close into. So I'm expecting Ribby to close in. And then finally, I'm going to make my 4th pick, my final pick, the number 2 horse, Eraz. This is a horse that should be in that pressure group. If you look at its history, its second race off a layoff, maybe it does a little bit better here. But on the good surface, the horse has done okay. And we'll see if it can hold up. And on the turf, it's gone through the turf 4 times with a win, a second and a third. And then at the distance, it's run 6 furlongs twice. It's won one of them, finished third in the other. Last time out on a good surface, the fractions were fast enough to get it done. 2 back at Ascot or 3 back at Ascot. That race could be enough to win it. The next race we're going to move off to, Thomas, is race number 2, I think, if I remember correctly. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
This is the Rayyan Stakes. This one is a Group 3, Class 1 for 4-year-olds and up. They're going to be running 1 mile and 4 furlongs. So, in other words, 1.5 miles, if I do my furlong math correctly there.
You are.
So, in 1.5 miles, it looks like we're going to start here. We're going to come around this first turn, kind of a tightish turn, I think, because maybe, I don't know. And then come back and around another little tightish turn, and then coming up at this end here. So this should be a pretty interesting race in terms of the how the turns impact the outcome. From watching these races before, Thomas, do you want to be inside placed at the turn, outside placed? Where do you want to be?
The gate is going to be on the inside. The starting gate. So yes, you do want to be a little tactically forwardly placed, but I don't see them too wide here with the size of a field. I would say maybe too wide. And then the dead closers will be flying, and we'll see what the pace is up front. And
speaking of pace, I see there's a 6-horse field. I have 4 of the 6 horses to me that look like they want to be closer to the front than the back. Do you see it the same way?
I see it the same way. And actually, the horse I picked, I think is going to be the front runner. And I took Outbox number 5 as my top choice. 26 starts, he has 7 wins, 5 seconds, and 4 thirds. Last out, it faced Yabir in a Group 2, and he set the pace, made the running, and got caught by Living Legend, and then got caught a little later on by Yabir, who moved a little too late. And I really thought he ran a good race. And I think dropping to a Group 3 against this field, I think he's got a nice chance in here. He wanted to buy with a 65-day layoff, and that was against listed types. But again, you have to question how good that race was. He had 69 days between his last race against Yabir and Living Legend, and I think he made a good accounting of himself. And if he can set a reasonable pace, I think you're in a good price, and I think he's got a nice price, got a nice chance. And as you alluded to, I didn't see a lot of pace in this race, so I think that if he can do it, he can sit right, I think it's got a nice chance. I took 6 without a fight, I should say, as my second choice. 13.
Certainly hope he doesn't run that way for you.
I hope too. 13 starts, 5 wins, 2 seconds, and 3 thirds. Last out, he was in the Group 1 in Dubai, the Shima Classic. He beat a few horses, ran 12th. But let's face it, that was Yabir, the Japanese horse. It was a pretty good field. And, I think dropping to a Group 3, this horse is much more suited. Because he did a nice run at Dubai, one race back in a Group 2. He lost to Hokum, and that's no shabby horse either. He finished the season with 2 wins in small fields. And they were in the Class 2 level. And ironically, in one of those races, he beat Living Legend. So I think he's going to close. I think the distance is perfect for him. He's done well at this distance, and you just don't know. And again, I thought we'd get a little better than 5-1, but we'll see.
This whole field, though, is pretty similar odds. There's not like a real big favorite, and there's not really what you'd call just a incredible long shot. So they're all between like 3-1 and 7-1
and
7-1.
Right
so
now,
the odds makers are telling you it's pretty much a wide open race.
Well, yeah, the bookies are confused as the bettors are right now. I think I did take 2. Estrada is my final choice. Has 5 starts, 3 wins, and a second. Last out was run in October at Ascot, just won by a head over Alba Flora, who is in a Group 1, went off at 16-1 and had a layoff of 58 days. Well, it needed the layoff because the race before that, it was a Group 1, lost to Snowfall by 37 lengths. So that's quite a turnaround.
Yeah, must have been injured.
Yeah, or something was going on. But the point being here is that she's coming off a layoff, but she's a pretty good runner.
Mm-hmm.
And the distance suits very nicely. She ran a second in a Group 2 at Royal Ascot. She's winner of 2 races, listed maiden levels. So she's a Group 1 winner. This is not a Group 1 race. So I think we've got a nice chance right with this bunch.
Yeah, I think that's where you left off is where I'm starting with the Shida. You mentioned the layoff, and I noticed that too in doing my rankings, but it did have off from November of 2020 until May of 21. So that's a pretty similar layoff and a little bit about 1 month shorter, but came back to win that race by a neck. So maybe, and it seems like when it wins, minus that one race that you mentioned against Snowfall, where just ran way off. But in the other 4 races that she ran, she won by a head, won by a neck, and finished second by 3/4 of a length. So that's, as you mentioned about another horse yesterday on our show, it's got to be frustrating for a horse to always be so close at the end for the trainer. Fortunately, this one has found the tape first in 3 out of those 5 races, as you mentioned. I'm going to go to the next horse right next door, the 3 horse. I think that's Ilarab. I think it's an IL. Ilarab is my next selection. That's the number 3 horse. There's really not a lot of, I don't think there's like a true front runner type in here, but there are 4 that like to probably be more towards the front of the pack than the back of the pack. This is the lone closer in the field. So again, I don't know that it's going to actually get the pace that it needs to win. But if 4 out of the 6 horses decide to go a little bit of giddy up and go out of the gate, it should open up the door for a closer to come in through the back door and maybe clean up the exacta, the trifecta, or the swinger, right? That's the bet that they have over there.
Mm-hmm.
My third pick is your first pick, Outbox. This one is probably going to end up being the longest odds on the board. In the program, it was 10-1. Looks like the bettors are taking it down to 7-1. Does have some experience at Newbury with a win and a third in 2 starts. It's done all right at the distance too. It's run it 10 times with 3 wins, a second, and 3/3. And this is a horse that's making its second start off a layoff. That last one wasn't very bad. I mean, it closed a little bit into. I took the lead, kind of gave it up a little bit at the end, but I expect the horse to improve in its second start off a layoff. And then finally, my final pick is the 4 horse. That is Foxtails. And the 4 horse should be one of those horses that's amongst the pressuring group. Been at Newbury twice with a win and a second. It's been on turf 8 times, 3 wins, 3 seconds, nothing else behind that. The only question is, can it handle the distance successfully? And we'll find out if it can answer that question. If Foxtails can answer that question, then maybe, with that record on turf, could bring this one home as the winner.
Well, quick note on this one. I don't know if you noticed when the number of tips, almost every horse has somebody tipping that horse as being the winner.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that really interesting that that you saw that on almost the entire field. So that shows you how wide open this is.
You can see it here, and where we're on is racingpost.com, which if you're going to do like the international races, a great site, particularly for the European races and the Dubai races as well. But yeah, you can see 1 tip, 6 tips, 3 tips, 2 tips, 1 tip, 2 tips. So aside from the 2 horse, everybody else is getting at most 3 or 2 or 1. So it's, as the odds makers have said, with the lines that they have set, this is a pretty open race.
Yeah.
A race that might not be too open, at least once we post this, is Terry's best bet of the day. Is over at Santa Anita today. So if you're going to be betting on this Friday at Santa Anita, make sure you take a look at Terry's picks over at horseracingtoday.net. He's big on Octopus in race number 4. And then Synthesis will be the second choice, followed by Quick Finish. And Terry's mentioned lately that his second picks have been outperforming his first pick. So you might want to reverse the order there with Synthesis and Octopus.
Now, I've been running into my third picks have been the top, been winning and at prices.
So
and I'm like, okay, what's going on here?
Well, you're posting your picks every day on Twitter, right?
I haven't. I unfortunately haven't in the last couple of days. A week ago we lost our dog, and So I was a little preoccupied with some other things going on in my life. But I will pick it up again, and I will be at Prairie Meadows on Monday late afternoon and evening. I'm heading to Omaha to see my daughter, and I'm going to go to Prairie Meadows before I go there. And on the way back the next Monday, I'm going to stop in again and watch the races.
Maybe you can send us some pictures. You're a professional photographer.
I'm planning on one of the evenings to take pictures, and we'll see what I can do there. I went there once before and did okay, and looking forward to seeing some live racing. It's been a while.
Yeah, I think today's opening day for them too over at Prairie Meadows.
It is correct. It is opening.
So it is not opening day at Newbury. Actually, I finally figured it out after a whole week. So we're going to skip race number 3 and go to race number 4.
And we're here for a good reason.
This is the Shaqab Lockinge Stakes. Hopefully I got that one right. It is 1 mile.
The Lockinge.
Yeah, all right, whatever.
Yeah, stake.
This one's 1 mile. Again, they're going to start here and they're going to sprint straight to the finish line. No turns, just undulations. They're slight undulations, and they're throughout.
Yeah. And this is a Group 1 race, and it is a Champion Series race. So these are some of the best 1 milers in Europe, frankly. And we've got one really good one in here. I'm going to try to beat it.
So the Championship Series races would be the equivalent in the States of like our Triple Crown.
I would say more along the lines as leading up to the Breeders' Cup type races.
Okay.
These are, and they also a little more money involved in these types of races, so which attracts usually some good company. And with that, I took number 5, Real World, as my top choice. 12 starts, 6 wins, 1 second, and 2/3. It's had 2 winners in Dubai. They put it on the dirt, and it doesn't win. That's the best way to describe it. I mean, they put it in the Dubai Cup, the Saudi Cup. They ran it once in Dubai on the turf, and guess what it did?
It took home the W, baby.
And it won. 5 other races have been on the turf, and he wins. And I really believe that they should stop trying to get him to be a dirt horse.
Yeah, I mean, look at the empirical evidence, right? It's right in front of you.
Yeah, the only thing that this horse does not have on its CV right now is a Group 1 win. And here's a great opportunity to get one. It's won on all surfaces on the turf, from very soft to good to firm. I don't see that as a problem, and I really think this is a top-notch horse that you should really seriously consider to beat the big favorite, which is Baid. That's my second choice, number 1. 6 starts, and guess what? Has 6 wins. Guess what?
Beat that
record he's been running at 1 mile, all races.
Even my math says that's 100%.
Yeah. And the trainer, let's face it, the trainer did a really masterful job with this horse, William Haggis. Starting from maidens in June of last year, to the novices, to Group 3s, and then 2 Group 1s. He's developed beautifully, and the horses he's beaten, he beat the best miler in Europe in Palace Pier in his last start, and the start before that in France, he beat Order of Australia, who just happened to win the Breeders' Cup at 1 mile.
So you think there's a chance we'll see this one in the Breeders' Cup later in the year?
It really, I think the turns is the question mark in my mind. In being at Keeneland, it's a 2-turn race, so we have to think along those lines. I wouldn't say no, especially if it continues to be undefeated. This first time off, it's never been off a layoff, but of course it won its maiden. So yeah, they're saying 1 to 2. I'm saying 2 to 5 for the odds. I would be very surprised if you get any kind of odds on this horse. No. So if you would like to take the angle of the big favorite second, this is one you could possibly do that with.
The backdoor exacta, for sure. That's a great betting strategy. Terry likes to go all over that horse just in case you catch a price.
Yeah, and in one race, when he left out one horse in the Breeders' Cup Mile when Order Australia won. That
It
was
always
not
works
good.
like that, though, Tom.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about that was I told somebody about that story, and it must have it was like 6, 7 months ago. I told the story of what Terry did, and the guy must have remembered it because he liked Epicenter for second in the Kentucky Derby, and guess what he did?
He all epicentered.
He all Epicenter.
Uh,
He made 10K
wow.
for his $5 investment.
5?
Well, 5 being each horse for 5, each exact accommodation.
But it was only a $5. So it was a $95 bet then.
Yeah, and paid $4,000.
Ooh, times 2.5. Beautiful.
Yeah. So I had to tell Terry that. I had to send him a note because somebody actually listened to me.
And, it's sad I didn't listen to you.
Don't leave one out, or you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and that would have been the one he would have left out too.
He originally, but then he remembered the story. And that's what he told me when he told me he hit this thing. And I'm going, you're smarter than I am.
Mm-hmm. Better listener anyway.
Yeah. Well, and that was off the subject, but what the heck.
Mm-hmm.
My final choice is number 7, Sun Ray Major. Has 6 starts, 3 wins. He's tried Group Company last time out, ran 5th, challenged at about the 2 furlong marker, but frankly didn't finish. He's been mainly running and winning at the novice and handicap levels, so this is definitely a step up. But we've got an interesting connection here because it's the Gosden horse, and with that, he's mainly been using other riders. And today we pick up Frankie Dettori. So big price, interesting angle. They must think they have something here because. Why are they, all of a sudden they're moving Frankie on this horse and he doesn't have a lot of other rides in the day. So, if this one wins, it's definitely going to pay something.
Well, he's definitely 40-1 right now, according to the odds maker. Unlike the previous race where everybody was a potential winner. Obviously, they don't think that's the case here.
It was a different race.
Yes, indeed. So I agree with you on those top 2 horses, Tom. It's going to be Baid and Real World. They're going to duke it out. What's interesting, you mentioned that Baid is undefeated in 6 races, but if you look in the past performances for Real World has won 1 mile 3 times on the turf, I think. And guess how many times he's won?
3 times.
3 times. He's undefeated at the distance on the surface. So if there's anybody that's going to take out the one horse, the record says it will be Real World. And behind it, I went with a couple of veterans, names that I'm familiar with. I went with Mother Earth. I don't think you can go wrong with that horse. 6-1.
She's been a goodie.
Mm-hmm. And then Alcohol Free is my other horse, the 8 horse. Just looking at its record too. It's run on the turf, 11 times. It's come home with the winning trophy 5 out of 11 times. But what fascinates me is that it's run at Newbury at 2 times, and it's not lost at Newbury yet. So, a horse that's undefeated on the course, maybe it likes the undulations, Alcohol Free. And at 12-1 for a horse that's won almost, what is it, about $1.4 million in 11 races, that tells me it's been competing against some pretty good company. And yet it's undefeated on this track. So I think those are your 4 best horses in this field.
Yeah, it's a good field, but there is an outstanding horse in here, and that's the one you got to beat.
You're going to find out how outstanding it is, and if Real World
really quick.
Yeah, I had a hard time getting away from that one being first. The next race is kind of easy. There's only 4 horses in this race, so I mean, if you handicap them all, it's going to be take you about 5 minutes. The interesting thing is 2 of them haven't raced before, so you got 2 horses that got a little bit of history in them. And then you have 2 horses, you have no idea what you're going to get. They're going to run 6 furlongs. Again, if we go back to the 6 furlong map, you will see that they're going to start here, and they're going to run right where the slight undulations begin, it looks like. At least that's where the words start. And run all the way to the circular stop sign again. So in your 4 horses, Thomas, you can't really predict what the pace setup is going to look like. I would suspect that whichever horse gets the lead is probably going to be the one to beat.
You would think. But I am going to take one of the first-time starters. I am taking number 4, Sierra Blanca is my top choice. The combination of Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien. Sire was a very good sprinter, to say the least. The dam has produced 5 runners. 4 of them are winners. 3 of them are stakes winners. And the interesting thing there is, though, they're at a mile or more. So obviously there's a future here. So my question is, why start this horse in a 6 furlong race? Well, 2-year-old, it must be ready. They got to put it someplace. They're looking at Royal Ascot. And why not start here?
Yeah, I mean, you only got 3 horses to beat. So
yeah. And, let's face it, Aidan O'Brien knows what he's doing. Ryan Moore can certainly ride a horse pretty nicely. And if the goal is Royal Ascot for this horse, perfect place to get a win. And I think you may get a little bit of a price. So that's my choice.
Yeah, I mean, between it and the 1, they're 4-1. The funny thing about I've seen in so many of these races, to me, it comes down to the 2 or the 4. If you just look at the times, the 2 and the 1 are the 2 horses that have some history already. They each have a race under their belt. The 2 horses' times were much faster than the 1 horses. So just upon that alone, you got to X out the 1 horse because the 2 horse looks like it's the better of the 2 that have some experience. That leaves the 3 and the 4. Obviously, Aidan O'Brien riding more. That's a combination that you can't ignore, whether it's here or there or anywhere. But I've seen way too many times in these short fields, the 1 horse nobody wants comes in and win, and that would be Indian Renegade. Yes, so I wouldn't mark that one off either. No. But if I had to lean towards one or the other, that's a tough call. I would probably go Sierra Blanca just because you're going to get better odds than you're going to get with Persian Force. But I think the experience probably wins out simply because you don't know what you're going to get when those gates open for the first time with Sierra Blanca, though I do expect that Aidan O'Brien has not Aidan O'Brien. Yeah, Aidan O'Brien has the horse ready to go. I mean, otherwise, the horse wouldn't be here. I wholeheartedly agree with you.
Yeah, no, and that's my feeling. I looked at it and I went through it, and I just, and I looked at the dam's production record, and she does produce first-time starters and first out winners, and there are 4 stakes winners in that family. So only 1 didn't win. So that's not bad. The only thing that was the distance thing. But I'm figuring, why would he put her in here? Put him in here if he's not ready to go.
Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, I would wait. I would wait for the longer races as the 2-year-old season progresses. But they obviously have a target for this, and it does have entries in some big races. So let's start here.
Indeed. Another thing we can take a look at today, too, is Tyler Connor, a great friend of the show, jockey who runs primarily at Penn National. He'll move off from track to track in that Atlantic Coast region from time to time. And one of those races will be today at Pimlico in race number 3. Tyler's kind enough to go through the program every night when he's got a mount, and either we'll post them on our social sites at Horse Race Today on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. In this case, there's enough of them. We put them up on horseracingtoday.net. So I don't know how many other places you can get insight from the jockey before the race on the mounts that he has. So make sure you head over to horseracingtoday.net. Check out Tyler's thoughts on his horses today. And he's been spot on with his analysis in terms of what he expects out of his horses. And hopefully he's spot on today as well. The last race we're going to cover, Thomas, is the Haras de Bouquetot Fillies Trial Stakes. I don't know. Me and my pronunciations, but
yeah, well,
I am the official pronunciator.
Let's face it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what I say is etched in stone from on high. This one is a 1.2 miles furlongs, so that's going to work out to 1 1/8 miles. And if you look at 1 1/8 miles, it looks to me like this one's going to have a little bit of a turn, huh? It's going to start here and then come back around and kind of make that triangular run. How do you see this one playing out in terms of pace time? If I look through this one, I see one that wants to get on the front, and then a few that maybe want to chase, but probably prefer to be in the middle or back. So maybe you might get a price on a front runner here if it can hold on.
Yeah, well, the thing with the front runner is, of course, its position in the gate. because the gate will be placed on the inside if I saw correctly. So we'll see how it can get out and what little traffic it hits before they get that first turn. So that'll be important in terms of looking at the running of this race. So
who do you think is going to be on the front?
A dead closer is possible. But I took Bouquetot as my top choice. 3 starts, has a win and a third. I tossed the last race out because Group 1, I was way over its head. 8th out of 9. This is a Gosden horse. Frankie's up. She won a novice. She ran in a novice. She ran in the maiden, and looks, she's been improving. And she's the favorite for a reason. And again, this is another one. This is a trial, so it's, looking for that. We're going to put it in Royal Ascot. I went with being these are nice. These are 3-year-olds. I took 5. And this one I get to butcher.
Mukadama. I can get that one right.
I think, I'm not 100% sure. 2 starts, has a win and a second. Tried a 1+ type of thing first start on the all-weather and looked really nice. Then it went to Ascot on good to firm running, ran second and looked good again. So obviously it's got some, they've done a nice job prepping this horse. Yeah, this is a step up for the horse, but I think you're going to see this horse running at the end. And then I took a long shot. This horse has run 20 times. It's only a 3-year-old.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah. I took number 3, Flash Betty.
Is that the one you think is going to be on the lead?
Yes, that is my prediction for the leader.
Me too.
She has 3 wins from those 20 starts, 5 seconds and a third. Tossed the last one out. She was in a Group 1. She faced Cachette, who won the 1,000 guineas. So we know that one's a really good one. And she went off at 200 to 1. So I think a listed
not quite
rate.
Rich Strike, but hell, that makes Rich Strike look like small potatoes.
Yeah. So I think a listed race is probably a little more in her wheelhouse than a Group 1 against some of the better ones there. Interestingly enough, her race before that, she also faced that same horse and lost, but she ran 5th, so she had a little better race. My question with her, because her wins are on the all-weather, that's why I don't think she's going to win. But I think with the drop, and certainly going to get a price on her. She certainly has the experience in this field, to say the least. So I just threw her in there because of the speed factor and the only real speed. But if I can use her in my my bottom plays, I think she's worth putting in there.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly on Flash Betty. When I went through the pace setup, it looks to me like the lone speed, and if the fractions are right, then you can take them from gate to wire. That's kind of what we're hoping for here. Sort of like to repeat 2 Emmys win over domestic spending. Just get out to the front, run some slow fractions, and then hope you have enough late legs to get it done. But I do think she probably fades a little bit at the end. So I have her at the back of my picks as my 4th selection. I think it's between the 6, the 1, and the 5. I have them all pretty evenly ranked in terms of where I like them in the first 3 picks. So the 1 horse, as you mentioned, Bouquetot, and then I have the 5 horse Mukadama, and then the 6 horse Nashwa. Hopefully I got that right. Nashwa is a horse that's only run twice, 1-to-1 morning line favorite. It got a good track at a mile last time out, won by 6.5 lengths. So that's a pretty good run there. Right now it looks like it might be a little bit under 1-to-1 odds. A horse with only 2 races under its belt. The first run at Newmarket finished 3rd by 5.5. I wouldn't bet a horse that's under 1-to-1 with only 2 races and a mixed. If it was undefeated in both and smoked everybody, then I would consider it. Bouquetot, a really good race on that good surface at 1 mile at Ascot. So certainly can, I think, prove that it can handle the Newbury and this class of horses as well. And then the 5 Mukadama, just for the name alone, should likely be my top choice. It looks like it's going to go off about 9-2. And it's run twice. And as you mentioned, the win was on the all-weather track. But that last effort at Ascot on the turf wasn't a bad turf, bad race at all. Tracked the leaders, still finished second, only by 1 1/4 lengths. So I think you'll see some improvement from Mukadama in tomorrow's race.
And then I agree. I think coming off that Ascot run, I think you've got to really think about that horse.
Absolutely. And someplace you won't have to think much about horses if you want today. If you go over to Guaranteed Tip Sheet, you can find links to that on horseracingtoday.net. The Hawthorne picks for today here in Chicago, where it is absolutely wonderful weather-wise. So you'll be a fast track. Won't be any rainouts, anything along those lines. So you should get some good horse racing today in Stickney, Illinois. If you're from
lovely, beautiful Stickney.
Yes. Let me tell you, if you're in England and you ever come to Chicago, go to Stickney. You may never come back to Illinois.
Yeah, it's about as industrial as you can get.
Yes, indeed. I know they want to upgrade the town around there, but in any case, Tom. All right. So any final thoughts about how folks should tackle Newbury?
These are not huge fields, which is
helpful.
A little bit of a help instead of 16 or 20 horses. But the quality in these fields is, I think, very good. And even in that 4-horse field, Richard Hand's got the favorite in there. But I really think Aidan O'Brien's got that horse in there for a reason. And I think you're going to enjoy it. If you get up in the morning and want to watch some decent racing, you're going to get to see it at Newbury.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the first race is at, looks like it's scheduled to go off at 8:35 a.m. Eastern time. So even Terry will just be going to bed from his night out partying at 5:35 a.m. out there on the West Coast. And the last race is at 11:30 that we covered. But I think the last race on the card, if you're going to tackle the entire Newbury card, the last race on the card is at 12:04 Eastern, which should take you right into Saturday's racing, bring you right into Belmont. Again, if you haven't done that already, check out the show last night. I really felt like Sean Patrick Nolan gave some good insights. He seems to be well connected on that East Coast racing circuit.
Very well connected. I was very impressed. And I was also kind of surprised that Woodbine is his top track.
Yeah, outside of Emma Jane Wilson, I don't know anybody else who says that Woodbine is their top track. Maybe Patrick Husbands too. Right?
Norm Cassie.
Yes, indeed.
He does pretty well up there.
But I'm just talking about horse players, people who like to gamble. I haven't heard that before, except for folks who are maybe up in that Toronto area. So check that out. Again, we had a really nice conversation with Sony Leon right here on Horse Racing Radar TV. If you haven't done so, please subscribe. Give us the thumbs up. I want to say thank you to Mr. Kuzima Tinwala, Terry T.D. Houghton. Terry, don't you got some? No mounts today. Or they're not running. No Thistle Downs today, right? Mike Watkins, thank you. And Beverly Taylor, thank you for the love on Facebook. We appreciate that. If like them, you agree.
Greatly appreciate it.
Yes. Thumbs up help us a lot in terms of our rankings on their algorithms. Terry and I will be back tomorrow, if he's up that early in the morning, to cover the 2 stakes races that we did not cover at Belmont. There's another stakes race at Churchill that we'll cover as well. And then there's one more at Santa Anita, where we'll have the pace projections, the way the race shape could look or how horses win. We'll have our I don't see anybody else that's put up the stock charts the way we do with the speed figure. So you'll want to check that out if you haven't seen that yet. And then Terry and I'll be back on Monday at 12 o'clock Eastern to go through our full card picks at Parks. And we'll run through the regular schedule as we normally do, getting ready for the Preakness week, Thomas.
I'm looking forward to it. And I'm going to be on the road, but that's okay. I will still be joining you on Thursday and certainly definitely on Friday.
Looking forward to that. Any idea what we're going to cover next week?
I do, actually. We are going to go to the Curragh. And there's some good racing going to be there. And we will always an interesting Irish experience for us to try to pick those on the open field of the Curragh.
Indeed, for sure. It'll be a lot of fun. Now I know where these tracks are after 1 year. Before I had no idea.
We're getting good, right? You know,
now I know where we're doing, and that
Yeah.
that one probably won't be good to firm, no matter what.
Well, you know, we're and again, we're looking at these races as being Royal Ascot as the target for a lot of these horses, and so that's what I've been keeping in mind, and that's what I'm looking for. The other race, of course, that's before that is the Epsom Derby and the Oaks, which are going to be coming right up. And the Epsom Derby's only been run for 242 years, so I think it's got some history.
Terry, who won the first one? You were there. All righty, folks. Well, we appreciate you joining us today. We hope that you have winners, whether you're here in the States, you're in Europe, Australia, Hong Kong, South Africa, all the different places that we've virtually traveled to make our picks. Till we get together again tomorrow with Terry. And we hope that all your picks in your days end up in the
winner's circle.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend, everybody.